Welcome back to MMM Fully Glorified. Thank you, My Auto Sales, for corporate sponsorship, for the corporate pickup, for making this a beautiful event. Thank everybody for coming. Okay, so it's always important to factor in what's going on in the world, and there's a girl who is in tremendous need of racham shamayim, a girl with the jet ski. Her father's they grew up in Nisanov, and there was one daughter, Rachman son, who passed away, and the other is in tremendous need of racham shamayim, a young girl. It was a jet ski accident. Hashem should be merapa Chollel Ner Yisrael and should give her a full shlema, mekarev. Having said that, always can use the chizik in our bitachon, and what better time is right now. So I want to tell you an incredible ma'isa that I read a few weeks ago. I saw it in Rabbi Spiro's book from art school, Story for the Books. There was a lady in Auschwitz, her name was Chana. Chana's entire family was destroyed, was killed in the hands of the devil by the Nazis. And she miraculously, although she wanted to not many times survive, but she survived the war. She lost everything, and finally when the war came to an end, all she wanted to do was to rebuild, was to restart, was to build a family, have Yiddish nachas. All of her kids were killed. And she looked and looked, and she found another man, went through the same thing, lost his entire family. They got married. Months, years went by, no kids. Waiting, no kids. She was so distraught, and those feelings that she felt back in Auschwitz of not wanting to live resurfaced very strongly. And many times she would just think, Ribbon Shalom, what do you want from me? How much more can I endure? How much pain? How much more suffering can I go through? I lost my entire family, all my children, my husband, my parents were killed. It's finally a time, the war is over and I can rebuild, I have the opportunity. And I'm waiting for children, and it's been years. And every night she would cry and cry until the unthinkable, the unimaginable struck. One Friday she went out shopping for Shabbos, went for chicken, went for fish, and she left a pot on the stove, simmering in her house. Totally forgot about it, and boom, entire house up in flames. Her neighbors were well aware of her inner turmoil, her and her husband, how they lost everything in the war, how they had no children now, how all they want to do is rebuild. And now, in front of the neighbors' eyes, they see that her house is in flames, is on fire. And all of her possessions, anything that she had, any remnants, heirlooms, possessions that she was able to salvage from the war, all gone. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how she's going to come home, she's going to see, she's going to kill herself. And they decided there was a great tzaddik known as the Goin, Rav Motel Pagramanski. And they went to Rav Motel. They ran and they said, Rav Motel, they said, Chana's going to come home any minute. She will pasha take a gun to her head if she sees what's going on. Tell us what to do. And Rav Motel was game time decision. It's literally pikuach nefashis. This lady will take a gun and end her life if she comes home and sees this scene of her house in flames. The last thing that she had, gone in front of her eyes. Went out shopping for Shabbos, forgot a pot, and now her house is being taken from her. And Rav Motel thinks for a few minutes and says very clearly, you go run to her first, and you tell her that if she's going to be mekabel this Yisurim be'ahava, if she's going to be mekabel, accept the circumstance of the situation, I promise you, and I promise her, it's muftach, she will have a child. They said, Rabbi, I don't know if you understand. We know you're a big goyin, but I don't understand. There's doctors, there's track records, there's charts, there's statistics. They told her she is an akara. She's barren. She is not having children. And he said, I promise you she will have children if she's mekabel. Go run and tell her this before she sees this for herself. They go run to the market. They find her and they say, Chana, sit down. We have news to tell you. And she says, what? Like, what can possibly be now? And they said, listen, your house is currently on fire. There's nothing left. And she starts breaking down. She starts fainting, going unconscious. And they say, before you completely white out, you black out, we just want to tell you, we have a havtacha. If you're mekabel this, somehow, if you're able to gather the courage, the bitachon, to accept this, Rav Moto promises, in the name of God, you are going to have children. And somehow she puts it together, and she's working on herself, and she's working and working. She says, okay, somehow. And she says, I'm mekabel, that this was my house, this is all I had. But if this is the case, I'm going to do it. Years later, her son, name was Rabbi Naftali Greenswag. He was interviewed, he came around and he said, I just want to let you know. He said, I'm not the first son of Chana, I'm not the second, I'm the fifth son of Chana. A result of this episode, of when she thought there was nothing left, of when she thought there was absolutely no more reason to live. She was mekabel b'ahava. She accepted the circumstances, as hard and as challenging, as heart-wrenching, as impossible as it was. And I was the fifth son, against all statistics, against all doctors, against all medicine. I was the fifth son that Chana was zeiche to. And he explained that when it's the Eibishter, and it's being mekabel him and seeing him through the thick, through literally the greatest tragedies, as hard as it is, and we never want to be put in these situations, but we can always bring God into the picture, and whatever it is that we're seeking, that we need, when we clear the path, remove all the manias, and are able to see a straight path to God, the light through all the darkness, who knows, mir idea, what we can accomplish, what we can overcome, what lies just ahead of all the pain, all the uncertainty, all the tragedy. When there's the Eibishter, anything is possible. In this week's parsha, the pasuk says, "Va'atu Yisroel, ma Hashem Lechteich Haggadah me'imach ki im lira'osi." What does Hashem want of you? What does Hashem ask? Only to fear Hashem. That's the pasuk, beginning with Chamishim, Parsha Zekev. So a haflik pshat from the Kedushas Levi, the Hilek Kedushas Levi, quotes from Rabbi Chil Michal Zlatochover. He says the simple understanding of the pasuk is Va'ata Yisrael, now Yisrael, Ma Hashem Lechteich Haggadah. What does Hashem ask from you? Ki im lira'osi. Hashem only asks to fear me. But says Rabbi Chil Michal, that's not how you read the pasuk. The way you read the pasuk is Va'ata Yisrael Ma. Ma means what? It means abstract. Ma, what? It means the questions, the uncertainty. The questions lingering. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? How are we going to get through? All the questions, Ma. And the more we live life, the more uncertain things become, and the more challenging, and the history that we build up, and the uncertainty that we think is unshakable. This is it. The doctor said. You read the pasuk, Va'ata Yisrael, now you Yisrael. Ma Hashem Elokecha. Hashem is ma, Hashem is what? And as we mature and we get older and our history increases, it becomes a bigger question of ma, what, how, when, who, how is it going to work? But says the pasuk, sho'el me'imach ki im lira es Hashem. The pasuk is telling us, yeah, we don't have a Mussar, we don't have an understanding of what's going to be. We don't know the ma Hashem. But ki im lira oisi. Put Hashem, put Yerushalayim in the forefront, and go b'chol derach of going over his ways. La'ahav oisoi, li'ir oisoi, v'la'av oisoi, do avedis Hashem, b'chol avavach v'chol nafshecha, and then Hashem is going to be there for you. Hashem is going to be a stronghold. Hashem is going to answer your tefillos, all your pain. But when Hashem is out of the question, when Hashem is not in the equation, then Rahman al-Islam, what are we left for? We're left to be eaten, to be attacked, to be ripped by our questions, by our sveikas. But when we put Hashem next to the ma, when we put Hashem next to the what, then anything is possible. And Yishtal Su, that's what we say in the pasuk. Acha sha'alti me'es Hashem. It's almost El. We're almost going to be saying LeDavid. Acha sha'alti me'es Hashem. Oisa vakish. So the simple understanding is, there's one thing I ask from Hashem. Oisa vakish. This is it. Shifti v'ez Hashem. Sit in the house of Hashem. Says of Yechiel Michal, Yeshivas Levi, Shem is Rabbi. It's not Achas Sha'alti Me'es Hashem Oisa Vakish, that's what I ask. No. It's Achas Sha'alti Me'es Hashem Oisa Vakish. Me'es Hashem Oisa Vakish. From Hashem Oisa Vakish. That's the only thing I should be Mevakish. You move the comma over. It's not Achas Sha'alti Me'es Hashem. This is what I ask. Oisa Vakish Shifti V'ez Hashem. I should say, no. Again, Achas Sha'alti, this is the Pshat. Achas Sha'alti, that what's my one bakasha? Me'es Hashem oisa vakish. From Hashem is the only thing I should be vakish. That's the pshat. It's a new spin. It's a new outlook. But that ties into the pasuk of va'ate sol ma Hashem. There's always a ma. There's always question. But when it's ma Hashem lekecha shoymimach, when you put all the question in the svikas, and Hashem is there, anything is possible. Anything is achievable. And just like this lady, thought it was all over. She wanted to kill herself many times, especially after her house burnt down. There was nothing left. But she was able to put Hashem into the equation, all of her pain, all of the angst, all of the loss, and put it together with Hashem. She was zeichet to rebuild. She was zeichet to Divrei Torah. She was zeichet to all that she wanted for all the years in Auschwitz. Because when we put Hashem next to the ma, when we synthesize Hashem with our questions, anything is possible. And just to end, the Yeshivas Mir pointedly says, when it comes to finance, when it comes to mima sho'el b'tayach ala lekim b'tarfai, kishes akiv men or tarf yom yamim, ki asher hitzianu ala olam hazeh bizman yidua ve'is. We always have sveikas. What's going to be? Where's our parsha going to come from? The perspective is, we always have to think, the one who brought me out into this world in a specific period and a specific moment, didn't bring me out earlier or later. Who shemu'ukav mimeni boitarfi le'sidua v'yamdua. It's the same God that has everything that put me out in this world at the exact second, is the same person who's withholding the earning of my income until a specific time and date. Hashem has all gecheshbon. Hashem has all worked out. That's for parnasa, that's for shaduchim, that's for refuah, that's for anything and everything. What's in this week's parsha, the oivus hashpois of putting Hashem with everything, and all the maz that we ask, all the questions, all the uncertainty, bring Hashem into it. May Hashem answer our tefillas, give refuahs to those that are in need, Yeshuas v'nechamas to so with the arrival, of course, the greatest Yeshua and nechama and refuah that we all need, Mashiach Tzidkenu, b'meir v'minu, amen. Shkoyach.